you doing, folks? It's the off night. Once again, we're here this weekend. We're going to be doing some stuff to kind of talk about. I'm talking to you from the Amtrak station in Ann Arbor, waiting for the train to come. But there's a big train that's on its way. It's called our show, and wow, the darkness comes all fast. Anyway, so the show is going to be coming up, and we got a wonderful poem coming, and we got two guys that talk about almost everything. And I'm a great listener. Please welcome Mr. Mark Sweetman as your host.
Hey, you sound very mechanical, Andy. So we're gonna
subdued.
Yeah, you sound very subdued.
Subdued.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Let me get the sound there.
I'm still reflecting on last night's performance, so I realize I'm supposed to have the as.
Let me get you on here. Let me get you on here. Hold on.
Okay.
All right. So what did you think of last night?
Well, I thought the whole show went fine, but I followed the headliner. That's the wrong thing. It's like, so it was a great show. Everybody was great. I thought it was really good. A lot of stuff happening, you know. It was really good. Everything was good.
Yeah,
and then I followed the headliner. So the guy who was doing the line, all those people that were there to see him.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah. So I took the unfortunate position. I was following the headliner, so that's not even a good spot.
Yeah, you went after. So they were all not paying attention after he was done.
Yeah, exactly, and they were getting ready to leave. So
yeah, I made that line up before I even knew who the audience was going to be. I didn't know he was bringing so many people. So
it was a great show.
Put him up first.
It was one of the best shows we've had lately because it was like I think he scheduled everybody perfectly. You know.
Yeah. There's a lot of thought that goes into that. So
you put a lot of the solid people, and when there was audience there, so there was an actually progressive, good show, and it was all, people were actually enjoying the show. It was actually good.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to get. I know Susan has some other activities going on tonight, so I want to get her out here. So
get the poetry lady out. There you go.
Let me put Susan out there. Hey.
Hi.
Hi.
I have your headlines if you want in verse.
Sure. Let me.
Cool.
As soon as you see yourself in single screen, it's time for you to go. So go ahead and take it away.
Hi, everybody. Okay, here's ripped from the headlines today. News this week is very weighty. A state of emergency declared in Haiti. Sweden joined NATO. Farewell neutrality. Still war in Ukraine with all its brutality. Israel war with Hamas is still going on. People are starving and the war is long. I am also so very sad to say Richard Lewis has passed away.
Yeah, I'm sure
that's your poem.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be talking about Richard Lewis tonight. So,
yeah,
let's see here. I want to get Susan out there too. All right.
Going back and forth.
Hey. Wait a minute. Hold on here. Hold on. Okay, I'm going to get this somehow. Here we go. They get it. There we go. I don't know. I knew a lot of movement there. Anyway, yeah, we will talk about Richard Lewis. I know Sammy and I had met him. I mean, those 5 years I was emceeing at the Improv, I pretty much got to meet everybody. So to say that I know Richard Lewis is kind of a stretch, but I did get to at least appear on stage with him. So at the same, and when you're MC, it's at the same time because they come up, you shake their hand, and then you get off. So you got to,
or however you reacted.
However you reacted, yeah. So too bad.
Thank you. I'll be here all week.
Yeah, thank you. Too bad I didn't know enough to take pictures all those times.
Bring everybody else back up, and I'll say hi and bye.
Let's say hello to Andy.
And hello,
hi,
how you doing? Nice poem, Susan. Really good.
And here comes Sam.
Sam.
Sam's working on his sound card there. Oh, there he is. And of course, Jason. Here's Jason. Yeah, they all are.
Howdy, Jason.
Can you hear the sound coming from my? I don't hear what.
So nothing funny in my poem this week.
Well, I don't hear it now. I only heard it before we went live. I could hear it. I don't hear it.
But now you can't.
You sound great.
Well, maybe he turned off his microwave. Whatever was interfering.
Not until the cat
all
yells.
Right. Good to see you all. I'm going to cut out early.
All right.
Bye.
Good to see you.
Mrs.
Thank you.
We really, we really only need you for about 3 minutes to make the show look great. So thank you.
Yeah, like every time we're together.
Yeah, it's like Taylor Swift, you know.
You know what? You look
Oh.
particularly fetching tonight. So
Thank you.
thank
You
you.
never say that. To
Loving
me
the
anymore,
warm
Sam.
weather.
You know what? I don't. You know what, Jason? I don't sleep.
It was in the 70s today in Michigan. Yeah.
Really?
It did get into the 70s today.
It was
right?
68 here yesterday, but it's
All right. Take care,
going
guys.
to rain all
Bye.
week here.
We'll see
Oh,
you
yeah.
later. See you later,
Yeah.
sweet.
Well, I'm going back to the 70s on a regular basis. I got bell bottoms, long hair,
Oh, there you go. Got your lava
pretty much-
lamp. Got your lava lamp.
lava lamp. I'll blow anyone in a park for $1.
Got
I
your.
mean, it's,
Got your. What was
Cheech
that?
and Chong CDs.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's not a CD. An
Yeah, you got
LP.
it. You got to have the
Album.
black light posters. The black light.
posters. You know, I mean, it's
Yeah.
all going down.
All that stuff is. I've watched my kids go through that too, but it didn't all come back at once. Like we all had it, like between 72 and 75. We had it all at once.
right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Sam, I'm looking into getting a lapel microphone for you, because I want to send it out to you, see how you sound with it. If it sounds good, I'm going to be investing in a few more. It might be a little overly sensitive if we hear cell division.
If I say
know.
bad things about it, you mean, or
Well, throw it against the wall, scream, "What is this
call it a
abomination?"
bitch? Yeah, I understand.
Well, I'm constantly farting, so it'll probably pick that up too. So
Well, there is that.
got that going for you.
Yeah, you know, I mean, sorry I missed the show last night, guys. I've got this terrible, god-awful cold. Apparently,
Jason,
Yeah.
if you would have been there,
I know.
and Andy can speak truth to this.
yeah,
It
was
would
a-
have been the crowd we wanted for you for so long.
And I'll be
Yeah.
back. I'm trying to work on some new stuff. Andy's made some suggestions. Some other people have said some things to me. And the only way to get better is just to keep on getting up there and trying stuff out.
Practice makes perfect.
Tell you how good
Exactly.
good it was. I had Lisa MC for me, and I
Nice.
wasn't even going to go up, but after I saw how good the crowd was, I took her spot that she was going to have.
I mean,
Andy,
I
who was the headliner you had to follow?
Josh
Oh,
Parks.
yeah. Go ahead.
Josh
Mark knows it.
Josh Parks.
John-
He's been around about
John who?
Josh Parks.
yes.
When Andy says headliner, he's saying that because this is the guy that drew in all the people for that
Okay.
particular show. But they weren't just there for him; they laughed for everybody.
Yeah.
It was a really good crowd, but most of them came to him. And so Andy's spot was right after we didn't know that he was bringing all these people, and Andy was going on right after the next spot. And so he's up there as all these people are now walking out because they saw the guy they wanted to see.
Hey,
Those are
where are you
always-
going?
I mean,
Yeah,
like
really.
I've got this one little bit that I've been working on that you've heard it before, but the way I'm reworking it is like, you have that room in your house, and once a month during the full moon, the satanic image keeps bleeding through the walls, and you keep painting it over until you finally just get tired of it, and you put a frame around it and tell everyone it's Ron Jeremy.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I think that again,
That's very funny.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we, I mean, there's some other things, and like I say, Andy sort of noted that I was sort of being kind of a one-note kind of guy, which is true, and also being a little too regional. That's the kind of thing that isn't regional,
Yeah.
and it's
Well,
still
here's
fits my
how-
sort of dark persona, but not horrifically so.
So here's how good it was. There's things that I had just jotted down during the JoJo 2 hours earlier, and I just went up there and did them,
Yeah.
Yes.
and it did well. Don't you think it did well, Andy?
Yeah, I thought it was good. It was
very free, very free,
very
form.
free form. You're talking about something that was very, very serious to you, and that was close to you, and you laid out the absurdity of what was going on. So
Yeah. it
You
was
know what
very-
I think would be very fun? I'm assuming that you had a really, really good set, Mark. But I'm just thinking, suppose it really wasn't good. And you just said to Andy, I thought it went really well, didn't you? And he goes, yeah.
yeah,
Well, you guys must have
Yeah,
run into-
yeah, the crowds,
Yeah,
the crowd.
real good. Yeah, Mark. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
good. It was it was very. It was about the drive-by shooting.
Yeah.
Well, I
yeah.
fired a manager. I fired a manager one time because he said, "Yeah." I mean, I don't want to hear "yeah" from a manager. I want to hear "yeah, yeah."
Yeah.
I told you about that guy, Ray Hanna. You know
Ray
him,
Hanna.
don't you?
Yeah, Ray Hanna, yeah.
He used to come on stage with like a little mini keyboard,
I remember.
and he was when Broadus makes me laugh so hard over this. Bill Broadus. I think I told you this. We were working at a club, me, him, and Ray Hanna, and Hanna. I don't know how he did this. Maybe he has pictures of the manager, but he talked his way into closing the show, and he's not funny. I have nothing against him. He's not funny.
Yeah, but you
And
know what? He if I remember, if it's the Ray Hanna I'm thinking of, wasn't he like from North Carolina or South Carolina?
different guy.
A different. Oh, okay.
Different
I
guy.
was thinking he was kind of tall, had straight hair.
No, different guy.
Okay, different guy. Okay, the one I'm thinking, the Ray Hanna I'm thinking of.
This,
Basically got all his gigs because Sobel, Brad Greenberg, and Yoder all started competing with each other all over the South and the Midwest, and so there were so many rooms that you had to hire. If they got up on stage and could breathe, you know, they were getting hired.
yeah. If you could count all your fingers, you could get a gig.
Exactly.
But he.
Sorry, Jason. Hey, you know.
But no, he and I worked in Boston, in a suburb of Boston, because Boston, as you know, during the old days, had a ton of satellite rooms.
Kicked ass, man.
A ton.
Kicked ass.
That's why so many guys in Boston. I've seen guys in Boston turn down a Letterman gig because they were making too much money. They didn't want to. They didn't want to leave. Why? You know, they're making like some of these guys like Lenny Clark and Steve Sweeney making $1,000 a night. You know, why are you leaving? Anyway, so Hanna would get on stage and he would tell it what he thought was a joke, and the audience crickets, and the audience, and he'd go like this, yep.
Yeah.
And I'm going, God, you can't keep doing that. So I'm having, you know, and it was a nice room. It was a restaurant with a room downstairs, you know, for the show. And so I'm having my meal in between shows. And Bill Broadus, who I don't know if he has a pulse of about 40. He's like the calmest, you know, the calmest guy, just the most laid back, lovely person, but just the calm, quiet guy. And he comes up to me as I'm eating, and he sits down, and he's literally, steam is coming out of his neck. He's so upset. And he goes, I want to tell you something. And there's an intensity to this. And I'm thinking, God, I hope he's not mad at me. I didn't do shit. What? And he goes, that guy, that idiot, that moron, that fucking imbecile, Ray Hanna, do you know what he did? He did a song parody, Sam. A song parody. I go, yeah. And I'm scared of him. I'm like, yeah. He goes, you know what the song parody was? Every time you go away, you take a piece of cake with you. And he goes, cake! He was so mad. And I go, well, it doesn't sound funny. You know why, Sam? Because it wasn't. It wasn't funny. That's why it didn't sound funny, Sam. Okay? You know, if you sing a note flat, it's not going to sound good. You know why? Because you sang it flat. Well, he was the flat song note of comedy. He sucks. And I go, why are you so mad? He goes, because I'm funny and you're funny and he sucks. He shouldn't be on the same bill as us. He should be on a bus on the way back to D.C. I go, he's not from D.C. Just stick him there. He was so mad. Oh, man.
Well, guys, then take someone here again. There's a slightly different time, but Rip Taylor. Remember how he would just sort of like attack the stage and just come out? I mean, long before, you know, what's his name? Carrot Top stole his act.
Come out swinging.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, he's like, don't worry, folks. One of them is going to make you laugh. You know. We're you know, I mean, and of course he was always self-deprecating, you know, is the toupee on, you know, is it on? And very flamboyant. I mean, it was in a time before you could say you were gay. Obviously the guy's a screamer, you know, but whatever.
When I met him, the first thing he said to me, and we weren't working together, you know, we were in the same club, and the first thing he said to me was, do you say fuck in your act? Because if you say fuck, I can't use you. I go, I didn't know we were working together. Is it when the possibility that we are? Said, oh, I don't think so. I said, you know, I don't like any. I said, I don't work dirty, but I don't like getting instructions from the other comics.
Yeah.
So, he goes, well, maybe you need instructions. I go, or maybe my father's dead and you can't have the job. So we became fast friends after that.
Yeah.
What that means is he had to be physically restrained from attacking me. No, he just like, hi, I'm the god of comedy, and I'm I don't know, maybe he's in a bad mood. Maybe it's this time of the month. I don't know.
We got a guy that Mark brings on every now and then. I've seen him for a while, and his name's Tom Walma, and he will go up and he will do some of the most horrible stuff I've ever heard in my life, and yet at a certain point, all of a sudden, it starts getting really fucking funny. And by the end of his set, I'm in tears. So
he's one of our best acts.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But he's not afraid. I mean, he will go up there and do stuff that I remember. He was like making some anal rape joke, and this was way back. And you're like, you can't do that joke. You can't. And he's like, well, the Dave Chappelle. It's like, no, Dave Chappelle can make that joke. You can't make that joke. I mean, and he was being sincere. He's like, but he's that kind of a guy. He just takes this stuff and just keeps throwing it, and all of a sudden like a switch is thrown.
Something hits.
Yeah, he's got a great idea for a podcast, though. I think he's been on for about 5 years now, because I did it before the pandemic. It's called Wasted Genius or something like that, where basically you come on with your idea for the world. If funds or resources were unlimited, what would you do?
That's a Tom Walma sort of thing. Yeah,
I know, but isn't that a great? I mean, then you can. He'll have 2 or 3 for an hour-long show. You can get 20 minutes out of everybody on that, something like that. It's a great idea.
No, and he's got this sort of big goofy face and everything. So I mean, he's like a hyper.
And he always has that. He has that constant smile, even when he's not smiling.
Exactly, and even when he's when you want to talk about being able to take it when he starts dying, and yet he just reaches into his back pocket and gets more, and it worked. And it's like I gotta respect that. I mean, with that cadence that he has, if I had not met him until the day that he's standing next to my daughter to take vows, and I heard that speaking voice, I'd gone, oh my God, this is going to be my son-in-law. Oh my God, kill me now. And it's not even about him. I love the guy, but I could not listen to that. I wouldn't want my grandchildren. Emo Phillips, I could never figure out whether emo was it a put on?
Emo?
Yeah,
emo was a put on. It was an exaggeration.
Emo was a put on. And the reason I know emo was a put on is because this was during a time you could smoke in a club.
Right.
And emo was violently, I'm exaggerating, but violently anti-smoking. And the guy who ran the soundboard at Garvin's, Tracy Faust, smoked.
Right.
And he's up in the booth, and emo comes up to talk to him about, recording something. And Tracy lights up a cigarette and he goes, put that out now. Put that out right now. And Tracy said, you're not here next week, are you? He goes, no. He says, I am. He says, so don't tell me what to do. Okay.
So, but what, like, was his normal speaking voice, like what he would use when he was
his voice? Yeah, it wasn't that. It wasn't that.
Yeah.
It was like, it wasn't. It wasn't that. It was Phil Sultanic. It wasn't Emo Phillips.
Whereas like Judy Tenuta, we knew this was an act, but that was the fun of it. I mean,
she was so sweet.
Yeah. I mean, but
what a nice woman.
But when she would hit the stage, she would just come out with that stuff, and then she'd sort of like rough her voice up a little bit here and there, and just
you people mean nothing to me. Thank you.
Exactly.
You know the story about her and Betty White?
No, that's got to be good.
Betty White.
No,
she's on the Tonight Show. Judy, and so's Betty White, and Judy used to have this bit where she would like spit gum out, and Betty White didn't know this or didn't get it or whatever, and it falls on the floor. It didn't touch Betty White, but it falls on the floor, And Betty White takes a napkin and picks it up and goes, "I believe this is yours."
Ooh.
And so Judy says, you can't get that pissed at her. I mean,
Yeah.
how would you feel if B. Arthur was hitting on you every night of the week? And the audience is like, "Oh," and she goes, "What do you mean? Oh, you didn't? Are you kidding? B was kicked out of the Green Berets for not being womanly enough. Are you shitting me?" Oh God, that was
I
so
remember
great.
when B. Arthur died. I didn't get up there, but at the local gay bar, they put up a rather impressive memorial with like a giant poster of B, all done up with black bunting and lights and and candles and pretty much what you'd expect. But I mean,
Larry Amorous did a joke. He put this on Facebook. He says, "I'm going to do a gay version of what I can't remember the show now. The show that she did with Betty White.
what's it? The girls?
Golden Girls.
Yeah, he goes, "I'm going to do a show that's a gay version of Golden Girls. It's called Golden Girls."
Very funny.
I figured it'd been some sort of golden shower sort of thing.
I told you the one about when David Steinberg, who
Ooh.
he was never a director. He was a comedian, and then Burt Reynolds did this movie Paternity.
Yep.
And out of nowhere, I mean, literally out of the blue, he said, "I want Steinberg to direct this," and no one knew why. He had never directed, and he went on from that to do Mad About You, the Paul Reiser sitcom, Golden Girls, Seinfeld,
he went
just
into
a
television.
raft of them.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think I told you this, but he's in B. Arthur's dressing room, and she has her vodka tonic, and he says to her, she says, "Why do people hate me as soon as they meet me?" And he goes, "It just saves time."
Just saved.
God, I remember seeing the first time I ever saw B. Arthur was in that celluloid disaster remake of Mame.
Oh my God, that was so bad.
Oh,
they're still wiping the gauze off of the lens for Lucille Ball.
Well, especially when my mother was a huge Rosalind Russell fan, and she still wonders how she ended up with a gay kid. It's like, you're a Rosalind Russell. What?
Well, I just saw. This is Oscar month on TCM, and I just saw the anti-Mame.
Yeah.
The good one.
Yeah. That's possible.
And that's Rosalind Russell. If I'm
not
mistaken.
Absolutely. But Rosalind Russell, there was some controversy about her because her husband, Freddie Fields, was a very famous film producer, and he had her cast in things she shouldn't have been cast in. So instead of Ethel Merman being in Gypsy, he cast his wife. Instead of Gertrude Berg, the great Yiddish film actress or performer, being in A Majority of One, it was Rosalind Russell. I mean, no.
But you see, I grew up with women who were.
Well, she was also in Picnic too.
Yeah.
She was fine in that.
Yeah.
No,
and of course, she was fine in My Gal Friday.
She played the old maid.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she wasn't she wasn't afraid to play a strong female.
No,
role.
Not at all.
Oh, yeah.
Shelley Winters, the same thing.
We did that. We did that play Picnic at my college, and I played her boyfriend, the one who wouldn't marry her.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite line is when he goes, "Well, a well's a hole, Howard. Be sure you don't fall in."
We should do our version of Picnic from the aunt's perspective.
Well, when I saw that movie, because I'm just that old, William Holden, of course, was in it.
Yeah.
And he says, "No damn jail for," and when he said "damn," the audience was like,
"Oh my God, yeah.
No damn jail for me." You understand? And Kim Novak and Betty Field.
God, wasn't Kim Novak just the definition of icy blonde?
She was good.
She was fabulous.
She was good looking, man. She was
she was quite the looker.
I mean, just like 10 degrees. The room just got 10 degrees colder, and you
remember Bell Book and Candle?
Yeah.
it was a movie with James Stewart where he falls in love with Kim Novak, who's a witch,
Yes.
and his girlfriend is Janice Rule, who became a psychotherapist in real life.
Right.
And so, but he dumps her for Kim Novak, and he says, "No, you don't understand. She's a witch," and and Janice Rule goes, "Oh, honey, you mispronounced that."
Oh God, or was it what Eva Marie Saint in North by Northwest, if memory serves, which has that wonderful ending scene, we all remember it, of
When the
Cary
train
Grant.
goes into the tunnel.
The train goes into the tunnel. I mean, for those of us in the Midwest, I mean, my favorite scene is when they're announcing the train and it's going Kalamazoo, Battle Creek, Jackson, Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti, Detroit.
The famous gaffe in that movie is when that kid holds his ears. You know about that? When
No.
she shoots him, when she shoots him, Cary Grant.
Right.
It's in a cafeteria, at Mount Rushmore.
Right.
Well, if you ever see it again, there's a little kid who puts his fingers up to his ears to seconds. Like a good 3 seconds before.
Yeah.
And they either didn't catch it or Hitchcock didn't give a shit. I don't know.
And another good movie again with James Mason and Martin Landau in a somewhat ambiguous relationship that couldn't necessarily be disclosed at that point in time. But
well, they were Nazis.
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite things in that movie was Cary Grant trying to describe someone. He goes, "Well, he had a blue suit on and it had dandruff." It had dandruff.
Oh God! And the woman they got to play Cary Grant's mom, and she was like 2 years older than him.
Jesse Royce Landis.
Yeah, they just put a wig on her, and here you go. And Cary Grant at that point in time, he'd already contemplated retiring. Hitchcock had brought him out of retirement to do, what was the one film that they shot in the south of France with Princess Grace? To Catch a Thief. Right, which has the very first helicopter scene in a movie. The intro.
And that's also where she met her husband.
Oh, that's where she met Prince Rainier.
Monica.
And also refused to give it up to Hitchcock, which, hats off to her. If only her daughter had been able to drive a little better, but these things happen.
Well, she's not the only one. Tippi Hedren.
Yeah.
Also wouldn't give it up to Hitchcock, and he destroyed her career because he cast her in Marnie, and now it's just you and me, Andy. Let's take this.
Let's take this off the rails. What happened to those two? I don't know. I think it's a conspiracy.
No one cares. It's just you and me, pal.
All right. So
anyway,
I want to talk about one of Jason's jokes. He calls it. He talks about Ypsilanti, but he says it's about a place called Whitmore Lake, or as he likes to say, Ypsilanti by the sea. So it's two redneck towns. So I think he can take that anywhere he goes, but he's got to find which redneck town is next to the sea and which redneck town is in town.
Have you seen this thing, by the way? It's in.
I'll agree with you, Andy.
So I'm thinking Bakersfield, or he goes Carmel, or we like to call it Bakersfield by the sea, something like that. Find two redneck towns that are together in each state, and find out
the Alabama of California.
Exactly. So I'm in Bakersfield, or he's in Carmel, which is a very conservative town. Or we like to call it Bakersfield by the sea.
There was a guy I went to Howard with, David Red, and I was obviously aware of the fact I was one of the few white people in the school, but he was very hostile to me. And somebody got hold of him and said, Sam's okay. You don't have to be a dick. I understand. And he came up to me and said, I want to tell you why I was hostile to you. I said, all right, tell me. He said, I grew up in Bakersfield, California. He said, do you know anything about Bakersfield? I said, I don't. He said, look it up. and I looked it up and I read on it, and I saw him 2 days later. I said, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I said, by the way, I'm a Jew. They would have shot me too. Okay, so don't.
Now,
Yeah.
isn't Bakersfield where Kevin McCarthy, the former Speaker of the House?
Yes.
I
And ain't that perfect?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now is he getting out of Congress?
Yep. He's
yeah,
out of
yeah.
completely.
After you've been speaker, I mean,
But it's not
Nancy,
just the speaker. He's gone, right?
Right.
He's still going to stay
he's going to stay for his term, but
for his
No,
term,
he-
and then he's done.
Yeah, he's not running for re-election.
the Republicans, being the idiots that they are,
I think he left. I'm going to look it up. I think he left after Christmas.
By the way, one of the great quotes of all time, Lauren Boebert. I prayed to Jesus, and that's why I'm running in this district.
Oh, good.
Is she the one whose son?
Jesus thought she'd
busted?
do better in the third than in the fourth, I guess.
It's either Boebert or Green, Marjorie Taylor Greene, whose 21-year-old son. I kind of feel bad for the kid.
Boebert,
whose kid has just been busted for a bunch of really petty car burglaries.
Can I tell you something?
Sexting
Your
with
mother's
his
a
girlfriend.
congresswoman. I have no pity for you.
Well, my point is, this kid, this kind of thing happens when he's never been raised by anyone. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
I'm not saying
Boebert's
kids are geniuses, but he was trying to get
mommy's attention.
He was trying to get Sarah Palin's son pregnant. So
Yeah,
wow,
yeah,
that's
exactly.
not good.
I
know someone. I know someone from that town she's from in Alaska.
Yeah.
And they told me that when the Palins pulled up to a bar, people would leave because they knew inevitably a fight would break out.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, by the way, in weird coincidence land, as we know, Mitch McConnell has mercifully agreed to finally leave the leadership position and hopefully retire to a mausoleum somewhere where he can be enshrined next to the soul of Hitler and I don't know, Toady Fields, whatever.
Kevin McCarthy, are you ready?
Yeah.
After he was voted out of the speakership, turned in his resignation effective December 31st, 2023.
Yep. Okay, that makes sense.
So he's
to which California said thank you.
He's back home.
Which means that the Republican majority in the House is down to about 2 seats. And
two or three, yeah. Well,
yeah,
they lost Santos' seat.
Well, I mean, I like I like John Fetterman. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm saying this. But Fetterman was making sense. He's like, why aren't we getting rid of Menendez? The guy's a scumbag. I mean, if they got rid of George Santos, we should get rid. I mean, he's got gold bars and cash at his house. He needs to go. And not only that, the guy's been dropping bombs on. I mean, good things about Israel, right, left, and center. And telling
that's okay with me.
Well, he's been telling the Hamas wing of the Democrat Party to go fuck itself.
Well, there are these people in Gaza who are trying to get food, and the Israeli soldiers are shooting at them.
Good.
See, that's the problem. I don't think you're anti-Semitic if you're against fascist, and that's what they have there in Israel.
When we were bombing Berlin in '45, we didn't follow it up with planes full of Hassenpfeffer. We didn't. This is what war is.
Yeah, but
horrible.
this is
avoided.
Is different because this is the people in Gaza, says the Jew to everyone's shock. But the people in Gaza are innocent victims in this. They didn't declare the war. Not. They didn't fight the war. They didn't want the war. And in fact, Hamas comes out of Lebanon, so they're actually waging a war. The people in Gaza.
And they voted Hamas into their position of power in 2006.
Yes.
And Hamas has been stealing billions of dollars and doing what? Enriching themselves, living in Bahrain and in Qatar.
All right, so let's kill their children. That's the perfect response. Let's kill them.
But that's what I'm saying. These kids didn't do anything to anybody.
You start a war. This is what happens.
They didn't start a war.
Well, then how come we're not using nuclear weapons? If they deserve to be wiped off the face of the earth, how come we're pussyfooting around?
You know what? We use nuclear weapons on Japan, and is Japan our friend now? How many of those children in Hiroshima and Nagasaki ever pointed a gun at an American soldier? Not one.
but you got to remember something. Those kids in Japan, they're going to wind up, inventing really nice cars and just driving us into bankruptcy.
Well, the ones who didn't get turned into charcoal shadows.
And how about and the transistor radios? Need I go further?
Well, no, actually, I kind of like the transistor radios and the real life sex dolls. But never mind that. My point is,
I don't think they're that real.
Well, hey, according to Marvel Comics,
I didn't hear one of them say thank you.
I'm in my or demand $100 bill.
well, according to Marvel Comics, radiation improves you. Okay.
Yeah. Well, like I say, that's we had to cancel the other night at the track because we're driving around big metal vans and a giant thunderstorm's coming through, and I'm like, the worst that can happen is we get hit by lightning. Now that's how we get superpowers or third-degree burns over most of our bodies.
And radiation with spiders, all that stuff always improves. That's according to Marvel Comics. Okay.
My point, as I've made several times, is that Egypt, which shares a border with Gaza, a big one, seals that off. There is no Arab flotilla going in to evacuate those people.
And by the way, all these wealthy countries around there, they don't do shit for Gaza.
Not a goddamn thing. Nothing. And Hamas steals billions.
Yeah.
And it builds tunnels under. They hide underneath hospitals and then behind children and behind the skirts of women. And I'm at the point where I'm sick of it. I have my pity. When 2001, when they were out there dancing in the streets when the buildings come down, and that happened, I saw it. I saw it on TV. Arafat sent his people out there to tell them to knock that shit off now. And yet, this is who we're dealing with. That region.
Oh, I'm not arguing that point at all. I'm just talking about, just because there were innocent victims who got screwed over in World War II doesn't mean we should allow innocent victims to get screwed over now.
It would be nice if the war would end. I would be happy with that.
Well, and that's it. And by the way, that's as much Israel's fault as anybody's.
Well, do you guys care about the innocent people killed in the Ukraine? Because there's been a ton of those.
I agree.
There's a war that should end too.
Well, that's one of the things that terrifies me about if Trump wins, because that'll be the end of Ukraine.
Yeah.
Maybe,
and Bob Crane as well.
Yeah.
If in 2014 Obama hadn't engineered the removal of the government that was lawfully voted in, and it was the same. And by the way, it wasn't so much Obama as it was the State Department. It's the same people.
It's always the State Department.
It doesn't matter whether it's Obama or Bush or Clinton.
No, it's always the State Department, Jason.
Shit.
Mossadegh was the legally elected president of Iran. And John Foster Dulles and his brother Alan Dulles
had the guy got rid killed. Of Mossadegh.
Right. And they had the guy killed.
Yeah.
And they installed the Shah, a weak, vainglorious idiot.
Right. But then Carter knocked him over in the late 70s, and they put Khomeini in there. And you go from bad to worse. Had we just left them alone, God forbid. But, we were doing the bidding of all people, the fucking British, because it was British Petroleum that got nationalized.
Well, if anybody knows racism, it's the British.
Oh, my God. It is the joke I've often used. The sun never sat on the British Empire because God never trusted the English in the dark.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's not mine. It's someone else's, but it's true.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. They mastered the skill of playing one people against another. That's the way they got India to be their royalty was the royalty there for 200-300 years. That's how they managed. They sold drugs to China. The Great Britain made the bulk of its money selling
the opium
to the Chinese. That's where that money comes from. So when we see China selling us back fentanyl, believe you me, they've got a memory that goes back 5,000 years, and they don't fuck around.
I just remember I had a girlfriend, and we broke up because she said her goal in life was to be an opium den mother.
Hey,
a great movie to study that British approach is A Man Who Would Be King.
Yes,
because that's exactly what that whole show's about.
What a great movie!
Michael Caine and
Caine,
Sean Connery, and who played Rudyard Kipling?
The guy from Sound of Music.
Well, again, Kipling, another guy who was all about World War I.
It was?
It bullied his son into World War I, and the kid ended up getting shot. He got vaporized in an artillery barrage, and he spent the rest of his life trying to find his son's body. And it's like, well, dude, you know what? You had no problem celebrating British martial or militarism.
What's his name? I can't remember from Sound of Music.
God,
the guy who played the captain.
I can't even remember the cast of Sound of Music except for
Julie Andrews and Well, you know who played the good-looking 16-year-old boy in the Broadway play? John Voight.
Oh,
Really?
wow. Wow.
Nice.
I saw John Voight on a box of hair dye. And it was called like California Blonde,
Right.
and it was
Oh, wow.
absolutely John Voight,
You-
who now looks like
Yeah.
he was scraped. You know,
Every now and then, I still see the face of a friend of mine who passed away 5 years ago. He was SAG-AFTRA, but he also did some print jobs, and he did a print thing for Trinity Health, St. Joe Hospital, and every now and then, because it's a non-union thing, so they still have his image, and they'll trot it out there, and it's like, Herb, if you were alive now,
what is the name of that guy? God damn it!
Mark.
What are you trying to think of?
Mark.
What?
Mark.
Who played the
We
captain?
need to know
in
who
Sound
was
of
the
Music?
captain in Sound of Music.
Captain. It's Christopher Plummer.
There we
Thank you.
go.
God
Thanks.
damn! Like, how hard was that?
It was,
Evidently,
Jeez.
quite.
it was hard for you guys.
What?
That's right. And by the way, at my
I would
age,
not.
so-
I would not have been able to tell you who the boyfriend was, who was the Nazi. But
however, let me say this: at my age, very little is hard for me. So
Well,
I'm always
Yes.
happy when folks. If I could
at,
just.
Yeah.
at any rate, while
Peachy's
we're
gone south for the winter,
before we veer off politics too far, I find it interesting that McConnell has decided to retire a few weeks, 10 days after his sister-in-law, his billionaire sister-in-law, died in a mysterious accident in Texas in a very wealthy Tony community. She was a billionaire. She was the head of a large shipping company, and her car got driven into the pond, and they didn't get it out for over an hour. And
There was a time when I would say, "Oh, that's just a coincidence." But considering everything that's going on in the world, I'm here to say he had her killed.
he's
Yeah.
not leaving the
Something.
He's not leaving the Senate. He's just leaving the leadership.
Yeah, I realize that. But
He retired for like $40 million on a gig that pays $160,000 a year.
He and Harry Reid can get together and
That's
discuss that.
why I believe in the afterlife, because
Harry Reid got his money from silver mines, which he legally bought. He he bought them before he became a senator.
And McConnell better buy some coal mines so that the bodies that are stored at the bottom of them are never found.
No, the biggest pig now in the Senate is Manchin.
Oh God, yes.
Oh man,
well, come on, that was always true, though. I mean, come on.
No, I'm not saying it wasn't true 5 years ago, but this, and by the way, part of the thing the Republicans want to do in the balancing the budget and all that, they want to cut funds for EPA.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
we got to get out. We got to get out the vote. There's more Democrats than Republicans. We just got to get everybody to vote.
Well, we have to be legally allowed to vote.
Well, we're going to start registering the dead too. So good luck.
Vote often and vote early.
Yeah, but you know what? You're not as good at it. You're going to get caught.
It's
going to
get
arrested.
You're right. It's going to take some
Go
time.
fuck yourself, buddy.
It's not going to. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Mark get all mad. He'll get over it.
So let's talk about Richard Lewis.
You don't know how to do it.
Let's talk about Richard Lewis.
Yeah, let's talk about Richard Lewis.
Oh, by the way, I just want to say this is a great book if you don't have it.
What's it called?
Seriously funny.
What's it called? Oh,
Seriously funny.
Oh.
It's the history of the 50s and 60s comics.
So when did Richard Lewis start blowing up? Was it like late 70s or early 80s? He was in that first wave.
Late 70s.
Yeah, he was in that
wave
with.
He blew up in the comedy community, but he really wasn't an everyday name until all those.
No, then it was the 80s.
Yeah, because Letterman started in '82.
He got, the guy who used to run, he's dead now, but the guy who used to run Nick's Comedy Stop, and for those of you who don't know, Nick's was run by mobsters. So the nickname that we gave it was the Bulletproof Lounge. And Richard Lewis comes in and he says, listen, he says to this guy, Dominic was his name, go figure. And he says to him, listen, I'm very strict about one thing. I cannot have someone open for me who curses in any way, shape, or form. I won't have it. It's in my contract. And Dominic was a nice guy, actually. And Dominic, on that particular day, had just about had it. Not just with Richard Lewis, had just about, everything was caving in on him. This guy canceled, this guy wanted more money, and he just had it. And he said to Richard Lewis, sit down here, sit down. And he sits down and he opens up his desk drawer and he pulls out his Richard Lewis's contract and he says, show me where it says no cursing. Show me on your contract where it says no cursing. And he says, well, it doesn't say it. I said, then shut up. So he puts on, the opening act is a guy named, I can't remember, but he worked so dirty. He worked so dirty.
Oh, well, I don't remember Lewis being a blue comedian. Of course, there was that weird time. Who is it? Carl? I know Lenny Bruce gets tagged.
Well,
with being
there
the
was
guy
a
who
weird
breaks
time
it,
for him when he would, I don't know if you remember this, Mark, but he would actually have notes on stage.
Yeah, I remember
Lewis.
hearing about that. Yeah.
Richard Lewis.
Yeah.
And he would
Well-
refer to them. I mean, the only other person I ever saw who did that was Ginny Garofalo.
He had
Oh,
notes, he had notes on his Letterman appearances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you look, because they were just flat cards, and Letterman had his questions, and Richard had his notes right there, kind of next to each other.
You can do that on a talk show, but when you're
Right.
performing, it just looks so amateurish.
Bill Maher used to rub me the wrong way until I heard an interview with him where he's talking about these comedians and their notes, and he's going, "What is it, you people? These people spent money. They came out to see you," and that really changed my attitude towards Mark considerably, because
heard. Now, I haven't seen his live show since I worked with him, but 30 years ago. But I hear now that he's selling out arenas, that he is totally different on stage in front of an audience that pays to see him than he is, doing his little talk show thing that he does.
Well, I mean, there's always going to be.
In
some
what
difference.
way?
Well, he's more show busy. He's more.
Well, he's also more experienced now.
Right.
Than what that's part of it.
Well, him, like Bill Burr. I mean, these are guys who have big built-in audiences. I mean, he goes somewhere. Who's another really big comedian right now who can? Obviously, Chappelle can sell out.
Yeah, but
Russell Peters is the king.
Russell Peters can sell out Madison Square Garden.
Chappelle I get so pissed at him. He comes on stage at the Comedy Cellar, and people, you're supposed to do 15, 20 minutes. He would do 2.5 hours, and he didn't give a fuck if you now could not perform that night.
Yeah.
He didn't give a shit.
You guys were both MCs at big clubs and all that. I mean, you must have had guys come up and say, "Listen, I need to try something out." I mean, was it just right ahead, or was it like I got people up?
Well,
ahead?
are you scheduled tonight? You're not, then no.
I mean, how about you, Mark?
No, if it's a huge star,
right?
But see, with that,
Robin Williams shows up.
I tell you what. There's Pete. When we have a time limit, and we kind of do. My time limit is for the first 90 minutes, and then for the last 60 minutes, and so it changes, right? Like last night we had 15 people, so I didn't really time anybody because if somebody goes, it comes out to about 6 minutes an act. If somebody does 9, there's going to be 3 people that cut off 1 minute. I mean, I just don't worry about it. And I said, look, if you get a light from me, it's because you suck. And
thanks, Mark.
And the world
Thank
we
you
live
so
in,
much.
Okay. Yeah, you got the light. But anyway, in the world we live in, the world we live in now, I get shit because I say I'm going to take you off stage if you suck. I go, well, how are they going to get better? I go, oh, they're going to get better at somebody else's show. They're not going to suck on my show.
And by the way, Robin also is famous for going way long.
Yeah.
Robin Williams.
Way long.
Yeah.
He's the only guy. He's the only guy that really did it. You know who did? Charles Fleischer did it when I was out there because he was Roger Rabbit, and so they kind of let him go long because he would go off the stage and people would be like wanting an encore, and so Bud would tell him, "What'd you come off for? They love you." And he was
if Charles Fleischer was good looking, you wouldn't know who Robin Williams was.
No, that's true. That's true.
He wasn't ugly. He was just a weird looking guy.
Yeah, he had weird material too, but it was always funny.
Oh God, he was so funny.
Yeah,
oh man, he goes he would take a woman's purse and say, "Let me see what we have in here." Oh, look at that, phosphorescent butt grease.
Another person, two other people that went.
God, that's a good idea. I gotta have that sometime.
What's her name? Ellen DeGeneres and Roseanne Barr would go long when I was emceeing, and The one guy that we didn't like that did too much time was Rich Hall, because he didn't do anything new. At least Roseanne Barr and
Ellen.
and Ellen
Wasn't Rich Hall about improv or
working
no?
on new material and using that time productively.
I
Rich Hall's
think-
just getting up there doing the same old shit.
I think Rich Hall retired from Sniglets money.
Yeah.
You're right.
I mean,
Somebody told me he lives in Europe now with his wife. I guess his wife.
By the way, he did one bit I thought was very, very, very funny. He says, Bob here is Catholic, and they have their own traditions about how do you get to heaven. And Sam is Jewish, and they have their traditions. And he said, I'm Methodist, and we think you get into heaven by bringing a covered dish.
Yeah. He is so right. That is true. Yes.
That's good,
And he goes,
yeah.
oh, look, it's the Halls. Oh, and they brought macaroni salad.
Yes.
That sounds like an Argus Hamilton type joke. You know?
Yeah, that
Sam, the guy from Mad About You,
Paul Reiser?
all right, did Richard Lewis have a problem with him?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. I
You mean
thought,
Paul Reiser? I didn't think they had a
yeah,
I
I
don't
thought,
know
I
anybody
thought there was
that-
a rumor that Paul Reiser was stealing from Lewis.
I find that very hard to believe. And
Okay.
although I mean, who knows? And I don't know anybody who ever had a bad word to say about Paul Reiser.
Well,
Okay.
with Richard Lewis, though, I mean, part of what he does, it's all about his characterizations. And if you stole it, it wouldn't work for you. I mean,
Oh, people gave Richard a lot of material. I mean,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
you know, he would stylize it as Richard Lewis,
right.
but somebody would say, "Oh yeah, well my mom does this," and he'd say, "Can I have that?" And
My
because-
favorite Richard Lewis joke is,
What's that?
I was dating this woman who was very hostile. During orgasm, she'd scream out, "Take that!"
Isn't he the one that had the line, I was making love to an atheist, and she kept calling out, oh, whatever.
Yes, yeah. And also he did the joke. He said, I said to a friend of mine, when is Haley's Comet going to come around again? He goes, no, you mean Halley's Comet. No, it's Haley's Comet. No. Everybody thinks that, but it's not true. It's Halley's. And Richard Lewis goes, and I start thinking to myself, are there other words I'm pronouncing correctly? I like a slice of pizza. No, you want a slooza-palooza.
You know what's great about those jokes is that they're so simple. They are so simple.
Yeah, but they're very good.
It's like some comic writers call it the obvious answer. What is the obvious answer?
Well, when I the first time, I only worked with him twice, but the first time I worked with Richard Lewis, we're sitting down next to each other, and he looks at me and goes, let's not go on. I go, what? He goes, let's not go on. Are you hungry? Let's just leave and eat.
Oh, wow.
And I go, I can't do that. He goes, I can't either. I just wanted to see what you'd say. I go, I never saw this evil side of you. He goes like this, you have no idea.
Oh, it's like when Jeremy Irons was in the movie about Klaus Van Bülow.
You're a very strange man. You have no idea.
You have no. Again, Jeremy Irons is one of the most fantastic, sinister actor, and you know.
When he said at the very end, when he says to the pharmacist counter girl, he goes, "Yes, and I'd like a vial of insulin."
Just kidding.
She looks up, she goes, "Just kidding," and he winks.
Not many.
You know who was great in that was Glenn Close.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, that was a great movie.
Yeah, it was. And Ron Silver, of course, he left way too early. But
the thing about Ron Silver is he did something I didn't think was possible, which is he made Dershowitz look like a human.
Well, back then Dershowitz kind of was.
Well, because people didn't know him.
Well.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? I mean, just like Rudy
what did you say? What's wrong with dating
you
a
live
15-year-old?
in the public
What, when
eye.
you're 60?
Hey, you know what? I got one more. We mentioned it before we went on the air, and I do want to mention it just because he was important to comics. Gino Michelini from KLOS FM in Los Angeles. It was a rock station, but he had the afternoon 2 to 6 shift, and he had a segment he called 5 o'clock funnies, and he put all of us on. And everybody back in the 80s, there was clips of us all over the place. In fact, now I get I get money from overseas from where some of these clips have ended up.
Wow.
But
And for you
But,
youngsters, it's the 1980s we're talking about.
yeah, that would be the 1980s.
Yes.
But anyway,
Yeah.
he died. He passed away this week, and everybody out in LA that remembered him back in the 80s is very sad. I mean, he was still working, but it wasn't like comedy. Obviously, the 5 o'clock funnies wasn't what it was at one time. There weren't,
Well, that was before the Comedy Channel came out. That was before
Yeah,
all
but
that stuff.
you have
Yeah.
to speak in praise
Well,
of
you
good
know,
radio
when I
guys.
went out there were 800 comics working.
Yeah.
And everybody thought, oh my God, what a glut. There's so many comics. How is everybody going to get more? Now there's like 800,000 comics, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In one room.
Yeah. And none of them
Yeah.
are laughing at your stuff, you know.
And
longest open night ever, you know?
There's 800,000 comics, and people get upset when I say somebody sucks. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Hey,
You remember?
by the way, I was
right?
looking on the comedy thing on Facebook. Somebody said, "What are some sites to be able to go and be seen as a comic?"
Who?
So I wrote them down here. Mark, have you ever seen this? GetComedyScene.com.
Get Comedy Scene. I don't know what that is.
It's
Sounds
supposedly
like really bad English.
Yeah.
it's I know it's supposed to be a site that you can put like your tape on, and it has references to getting booked.
Well, I put video up on Grindr because it actually gets seen.
You know,
and
yeah,
laughed at.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, another
like,
one is called GeoCities.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but see, the thing that Grindr has in common with comedy is going long is excellent.
there you go.
He just makes them up, folks, and hopes you laugh.
And there's something called actiondetroit.com.
Yeah.
So
one
check
thing,
those out.
listen.
Maybe they actually can get bookings off of them.
Hey,
I
give
will be
me
back-
a list. Give me a list. We'll bring it up at the dojo next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's really what the dojo is for, is discussing that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's a new club coming into Ann Arbor on the west side of town.
What's it called?
I don't know. I've got to go check it out. It's over on the you say, and Sam, don't be too impressed when I say west side of Ann Arbor. That's like 3 minutes from downtown.
Jason,
Yeah, that
sounds great.
Hey, Jason, the Heidelberg's
the name of the club I think is called Here in C.
Hiroshima.
It's
Is that what?
it's called I think
I
it's called
there.
Hearsay. It's called Hearsay.
Hearsay.
And it's an improv club. It's an improv group. It's a long form improv group.
Mark, what were you saying about the Heidelberg, or as I like
It-
to call it,
it-
the
oh,
C
they're not
Heidelberg?
doing. They have new owners now, and they stopped doing comedy after the first.
Oh,
Did you know that Ann Arbor is considered one of the 2 or 3 most livable cities in the United States?
it's a lie. Don't believe it. It's a lie. It's like a Twilight Zone episode. You get in here, and it makes the Stepford Wives look approachable and warm. You don't know. No.
Go on.
Go on.
Go on.
Jason,
Go
if you would just
on.
wear
How is that
pants,
again?
people would like you, okay? If you just wear pants, people would like you. That'd be
In
fine,
Ann Arbor,
okay?
like anyone would even know the difference. I look like an Alan Hale stunt double if he was working in a German snuff film. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
Ann Arbor is
You said-
just Portland
You
East.
said Stepford Wives. It reminds me of a joke that Susan said that I think she might be, I don't know, but I think it's hilarious. She goes, there should be a Stepford husband. There should be a Stepford
you all
husband.
locked up. Oh no, I'm bailing. I'll come right back.
Separate husbands?
I'll go back to my husband.
Oh, here we are.
Sorry.
There you go.
So Susan's joke was they should have a Stepford Husbands movie. They all do lawnmower mechanics.
That's funny.
That's good.
Yeah, that would be about right. One of the things that I've been trying to work on, and I will be at the show next week because I've been wanting to try this out. As you know, I wasn't happy with my new medical experience and all that. And one of the things that I wanted to say is, like, I would feel like less of a piece of meat if you'd wrap me in plastic and put a price on me. I just, when I couple it with some other stuff, I mean, I think that there's sort of an emerging.
Here's what you need. Here's
Sam.
what you need, right? Since you're great at a 10-minute set, right?
Yes,
5-minute set, right? I can't see you. I don't think your body could handle a 45-minute to an hour set.
Well, you'd be
At the rate
surprised.
that you're. But anyway, here's what we need to do for you. We have to get a recording. We have to get a band to record. There's an old song, Love Machine. I can't. It's just a love.
I'm
Yes.
just a love machine.
And-
And I
and-
don't work
So,
for
so,
nobody.
but we got to change the words to Rant Machine because you're a rant.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
And,
gonna
so,
get a copy.
and we bring you on to Rant Machine, and we take you off with Rant Machine.
Well, I've got to get some
Yeah.
videos.
Sam,
I can give it to
Do you watch
and
Portlandia?
Sam.
That's a documentary of Ann Arbor. Okay.
Oh, wow.
What's the
It's 9
documentary?
o'clock, everybody.
Oh, darn it! All right, well, we got to go. It was
All
fun
right.
talking to everybody. We're here every Monday night. It's the off night. Things are picking up in the comedy world again. If you'd like to join us, we don't all have to be old white men.
Yes, you do. Don't lie to them.
Okay, all right, yeah. Basically, that's our call out. We really want Larry Ambrose.
Every
No,
time
you-
we have
we want
someone
Larry
who's
Ambrose
not
on the
old
show.
and white, they go, what are they talking about?
No, you could be in your late teens or early 20s, and well, never mind. Go on.
Oh, by the way, if we ever do a show about mob clubs in Detroit, we got to have Glenn Farrington on and tell his story. So anyway, I'll just leave it at that. Leave a teaser out there.
All right.
He's got one of the best. He's got one of the best stories about a mob-owned club. And it was right here in Detroit. So.
You're talking about the mob too many times. You know what I'm saying?
Wait a minute. All right, let me get that music back on here, and let's go at it. We'll get it out of here. Goodbye, everybody. We'll be back here at 8 o'clock on Monday night, and every Monday, except for the 25th. Quick warning: 25th, we'll probably have to do it or record it early. So we'll decide when we get there. See everybody next week.
Ciao for now, you commie bastards.